Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Just 20 subscribers away from 7K, so please help me get there. It is greatly appreciated. And in today's video, guys, I'm going to be discussing that man, Christopher Nkunku, and where he fits into this Chelsea side when he is fit again. Unfortunately, we're not going to get a debut against Newcastle this weekend. We thought we were going to get that. People were getting excited, myself included, when pictures of him obviously taking part in parts of the group session, parts of the team training. He's obviously been out on the grass for at least a month now. But Mauricio Pochettino in the press conference on Friday today, confirming that Lavia and Nkunku are still out. It's difficult to assess them. They're in a good condition. Nkunku a little ahead of Lavia, doing things with the group last week, still not full recovery. So there'll be no debut against Newcastle this weekend. I think it's a good thing. Obviously, Nkunku had targeted that game to return. He told Pochettino he wanted to return for that game. It's not quite been possible. No problem, you know. It's important that we don't rush these players back. We bed them back in. We've seen with Reece James, he's been back since the Arsenal game, which is about 5 or 6 weeks ago, yet to complete a full 90 minutes yet. Hasn't played more than 75. And I think we're going to see a similar sort of process with Christopher Nkunku, where he is gradually eased back into the team over a number of weeks. I personally wouldn't expect him to start a game maybe until December 19th in the League Cup against Newcastle at Stamford Bridge. Romeo Lavia believed to be about a couple of weeks behind Nkunku in the process. Probably won't see him maybe until around then as well. But it still begs the question, and still an interesting question to pose, just exactly where does Christopher Nkunku fit back into this Chelsea team? In the pre-match presser, again, Mauricio Pochettino describing Christopher Nkunku as a fantastic player, can play in different positions. Really bad luck to lose him for the beginning of the season. Step by step, we'll find the best way for him to fit in the team. He needs to build his form. I think that line there is quite telling, is that, you know, yes, he's a big money signing. Yes, he's probably our best attacker. Well, we all thought he was going to be our best attacker. I think he will turn out to prove to be, but he's going to have to build himself back up. He's played no football for 3 to 4 months, hasn't kicked a ball for Chelsea competitively yet, we don't know how he's going to adapt to the Premier League, and he's going to have to earn his place back in the side. Right now, you look at it, and we've got, you know, a midfield three of Conor Gallagher, Enzo Fernandez, and Moises Caicedo that are undroppable on current form. We've got two wingers in Raheem Sterling and Cole Palmer, undroppable on current form. And you've got Nico Jackson with 5 goals in his last 2 games. If you were looking at it sort of on face value, on who is most likely to miss out, you probably just have to pick Jackson, purely because he's probably the weakest of the four, for the 4 that could be losing their place to Christopher Nkunku. But when we look at Nkunku, look, I don't see him as an out-and-out 9. I think I see his best position as a number 10 or second striker, playing off a striker. I think his presence could actually help Nicholas Jackson. We saw good link up between Nkunku and Jackson in the pre-season. Nkunku spent a lot of time on that left-hand side, and I think Nkunku returning as well could bring more out of Nicholas Jackson in terms of his game, his output. I think he's someone that is a classic link-up striker, works better having someone playing off him, someone to interchange passes with, etc., things like that. But if we look at Nkunku, I don't want to put a downer on him, because I'm dead excited to see him, and I think he's going to do really well. But if we're just looking at things, like, yes, I think he's a better player than Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. But if we're looking at success rate of attackers coming over from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, it's not great. You know, he's got similar stats to Kai Havertz and Timo Werner in terms of goals and assists in the Bundesliga. You look at Kai Havertz, the 2 seasons before he joined Chelsea, in 18-19, he got 17 goals and 3 assists in 34 games. And then in 19-20, 12 goals, 6 assists in 30 matches. Very much doing what Cole Palmer does, you know, drifting in off that right-hand side, picking up that number 10 position, assists, goals, etc. And then it just didn't happen in the Premier League. We tried to shoo him into that number 9 position. He wasn't a number 9. We couldn't really find the place for him. And it just never really happened. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Christopher Nkunku, but right now, you know, it's going to be difficult to see where he fits in, and we may end up putting him in that number 9 position, because, like, right now he can't get into where the other slots are. Jackson's obviously going off to the African Cup of Nations in January, you'd expect Nkunku to play a large chunk of minutes in that number 9 role. But why I think they're not going to see him as a long-term number 9 is because we are looking to sign an elite number 9, whether it's an Ivan Toney or a Victor Osimhen. And I think long-term, I see Christopher Nkunku playing as that number 10/second striker off that elite forward. But even if you look at his stats compared to Timo Werner, Werner spent 4 seasons in the Bundesliga before coming over to Chelsea, 16-17, 31 games, 21 goals, 5 assists. 17-18, 32 games, 13 goals and 7 assists. 18-19, 16 goals and 7 assists in 30. And then 19-20, 28 goals, 8 assists in 34 games. Timo Werner didn't drop below 20 goal contributions in his 4 seasons in the Bundesliga with RB Leipzig, which is exceptional. And yet, it didn't really happen for him either. We thought he was going to come over, score loads of goals, be exactly what we're looking for. It didn't happen. We couldn't get it to work. He didn't work through the middle. He didn't particularly work out wide. Just look at Christopher Nkunku's stats, and yes, he's done well in the Bundesliga. 20. I mean, look, obviously his first 2 seasons weren't amazing. First season, 19-20, he did get 13 assists. He's put up 13 assists in 2 separate seasons, but his best seasons were the last 2 before joining. 34 games, 20 goals, 13 assists. So 33 goal contributions in 30 games in 21-22. 34 games. And then 22-23, obviously missed large parts of that through injury, missed the World Cup. He got 16 goals in 25 matches. Bundesliga top scorer, obviously Haaland and Lewandowski had moved on, made it a bit easier. But he would have got over 20 goals if he'd been fit. I think that much is clear to say. So look, his numbers stack up reasonably well. There's always a concern with forwards coming over from the Bundesliga. You're not quite sure what you're going to get. But with Nkunku, we know he's a top player. He's got that pace, he's got that power, he's got that finishing ability, he's got that good close control, that good dribbling. He's got all the attributes to be a success, but we just need to work out where he's going to slot in. As I said, I think he'll have a similar path to Reece James in terms of his recovery and where he does fit in. But the interesting thing right now, as I was saying, Cole Palmer, Conor Gallagher, and Raheem Sterling are undroppable right now. And then you look at Nicholas Jackson, you probably say he's the most likely to lose his place, just purely based on the fact he probably is the weakest of those 4. He's going to the African Cup of Nations. I think Nkunku will play as a 9 there. I suspect that despite Broha being an out-and-out centre forward, whereas Nkunku isn't, I think Chelsea will go with Nkunku over Broja in the number 9 position. I think Broja will end up leaving the club in the summer. I think AC Milan are already sniffing about for him. Yes, I know he signed a new 6-year deal last year, but times change in football. It's ruthless at the top clubs, and I just don't think Broja's quite got it in him to make a success of himself at Chelsea. I still think he's going to have a very good career, but from what I've seen so far, I just don't quite think there's enough there to make it as a centre forward. So I think Nkunku will play over Broja certainly in January, but it's going to be really interesting. Another thing you could potentially look at is seeing, well, could you drop Enzo Fernandez and put Conor Gallagher deeper and bring Christopher Nkunku into that 10 role right now? I don't think so. I don't think you spend £100 million on 2 midfield players each and they don't play. They're going to play. Simple as that. So right now, if we're being brutally honest, the only place really where Christopher Nkunku is going to play is in that number 9 role. And you look at sides, I'm not saying we've got the same quality, but Man City have won the league without a recognised 9. Arsenal are kind of not playing with a recognised 9. Yes, they've got Nketiah, but he doesn't really regularly start for them. Jesus is not an out-and-out number 9. Like, you can do well without a number 9, but obviously I think it's clear that Nkunku is not going to be seen as a number 9 at Chelsea because we are looking to bring in an elite level forward. But that's the only place I can really see him fitting in, guys, right now. Obviously, over time, I think he will play in that number 10 role off the elite forward, whether it's Osimhen or Toney. And Conor Gallagher, I don't think will keep up his amazing form that he's shown so far this season. Nkunku is going to play in this team. He will be a mainstay in this team and a focal point. It's just going to be interesting to see how we fit him in his recovery from injury and just what we do with him, who misses out and whatnot. But I think, going into next season, second half of this season, I think it will become clearer what the plan is. And I certainly see him in the long term playing off that centre forward. I don't think he's a winger. And I don't see him as a 9. Can fill in there if needed, but we've got immense quality there. And you know what this highlights as well? This is a great problem to have. It's a problem we've been crying out for a long time. It's having difficult selections to make, having good options in the first 11, having great options on the bench. It highlights how good this squad really is. We've got Cole Palmer, we've got Raheem Sterling, we've got Mudryk, Madueke, Christopher Nkunku in there, Nicholas Jackson, Amanda Broya. Like, these are all good players, and we've got great options now and a real headache. And I'm glad I'm not the manager, because there's some real tough calls to make. And this before you even talk about Romeo Lavia coming back into this team. How does he get into the side? How do we bed Benoit Badiashile back into the team at centre-half as well? Because I think a lot of Chelsea fans believe that he's going to be a mainstay in the club in the years going forward. Same with Romeo Lavia. Like, these are good problems to have, but it raises interesting debates. Where do these guys fit in? Who do they replace? How are they phased back into action? How do we get their minutes up? Like, it bodes really well. You look at our squad now, and it's a really, really good squad. Yes, it's young. Yes, it's inexperienced, and it will make mistakes. But the players coming back, we've still got, where does Ben Chilwell fit back into the side? Mark Correa playing very well. Where does Carney Chukwuemeka fit back into the team? You know, he had a great preseason, started the season exceptionally well. Where does he fit back in? So, you know, there's a lot of good questions to have, a lot of good headaches to have. And with Nkunku, I just think he will play. It's just going to be a juggling act and a balancing act of where we fit him back into this team right now. I don't think he'll start into the League Cup game, as I said. I think same with Romeo Lavia. I think they'll be back around that sort of time. Well, certainly Nkunku's starting. I think he'll make his debut before then. But for Lavia, I think his debut could be that game. But these are good problems to have, people. Good problems to have. I've got no doubt that Nkunku will be a success here. Yes, in the back of my mind, I do have slight doubts of a forwards coming over from the Bundesliga. You only have to look at Kai Havertz and Timo Werner to show that, you know, the track record is not great. I think Nkunku is different to those players. I think he's better than those players, but you still can't help but feel there's going to be a slight doubt in the back of your mind on that one. But yeah, it's really interesting, guys. It's a fascinating debate to have. You know, normally I would have said it just goes straight in, but right now, Conor Gallagher, undroppable. Raheem Sterling, undroppable. Cole Palmer, undroppable. Yes, you know, he has dropped Sterling before because he's not been doing well, but Sterling's doing well again now. Yes, you know, there's going to be a lot of games and it's going to be squad rotation. I think when we get back into Europe, hopefully in the Champions League next season, it'll be a bit easier because there's going to be a lot more rotation. But right now, we need these games so that we can rotate the squad and use the players that we need to use and get players' fitness back up. Because right now, playing once a week is not enough to give players opportunities, build their fitness and whatnot. So with the games coming thick and fast over Christmas and into the new year, that is going to be really important. But long term, guys, as I said, I see Christopher Nkunku being that number 10, playing off the elite centre forward that we go and sign. I think for the second part of the season, if we get someone in January, I think he'll play off the centre forward starting in January. But I think we'll see him mainly playing as a number 9 to begin with. And then long term, he will play off that number 10, and I think also off that 9. But I do think that ultimately Nicholas Jackson is going to be the one that will lose his place to Christopher Nkunku. And that would be harsh, but you know, you've got to make decisions. And Nkunku's come to Chelsea to play, and he will play. It's just, how do we fit him in? But those are just my thoughts, guys. I'd love to know your thoughts, people. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Where do you see Christopher Nkunku playing for Chelsea? How do you see him being phased back into this side? And who do you feel will miss out for him? Let me know your thoughts. Please subscribe to the channel, guys, if you're new around here. Smash a like on the video, and I'll catch you again in another one soon. Take care, up the Chelsea, and peace out, people.